There are just over 12 hours to go to stop another shutdown of the US federal government. It would be the first time in 7 years, and it could have widespread consequences for what is the world's biggest economy. Everything from stopping the publication of economic data to the collection of tariff revenue. Why is it happening? Well, because Democrats and Republicans can't agree on how to fund the federal government at a time when the US national debt has risen to more than $37 trillion. A shutdown would mean that many federal workers being furloughed until the differences are overcome. But President Trump has now upped the ante. He's suggested that some of them could be laid off permanently. As he left the White House a little earlier, he was asked how many workers could be fired.
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats. And as you know, they want to be able to take care of people that have come into our country illegally, and no system can handle that. And so we're totally opposed on that. But we can't take it. We just can't do it. I'd love to do everybody. I'd love to do the whole world. But our country can't handle people that come into our country illegally. And they want to give them full health care benefits. They want to open the wall again. Can you believe it? I can't even believe it. They want to open the wall. They haven't taken away boys playing in women's sports. They haven't done that. Men playing in women's sports. It's like they don't change. They lost an election in a landslide, and they don't change.
So a bit of everything there from President Trump. Let's talk to our North America business correspondent, Michelle Fleury, who's following that. So, Michelle, let's talk about that shutdown that is looming. I think we've been doing this job too long, Michelle, because it feels all too familiar. We've talked about this before, but sometimes a deal is done on the brink of that deadline. I mean, what's going on here this time?
Yeah, I mean, talking to people around this, I think there is less optimism that a deal could be done. And so we're now staring down the barrel about 13 hours or so before potentially a government shutdown kicks in. If you think back to the last time, it was 2018. Donald Trump was in office during his first term, and that shutdown lasted over 30 days at the end of 2018 into 2019. At that time, you had Republicans in charge of the White House and also both chambers in Congress. Here we are again. Donald Trump is in the White House. Republicans do control both chambers, but with a difference. They don't quite have the votes in the Senate. They have about 53 and they need 60. So it comes down this time, unlike last time, to the Democrats who say they want to withhold votes at the moment because they are pushing the Republican Party to kind of meet them halfway or do some sort of deal on extending tax credits related to health care and Obamacare that was approved during the COVID crisis. So that is the sticking point. And we know, Ben, that yesterday Donald Trump met with the 4 leaders of Congress. The Democrats came out. They said that disagreements remain significant. And then we heard from the Vice President, J.D. Vance, basically saying that at this point, it looked like a shutdown was inevitable. So here we are, like I said, more than 10 hours to go with people waiting to find out what will happen. Will federal workers be going into work or not tomorrow morning when they wake up?
Yeah, and there'll also be some worry, won't there, Michelle, about that clip that we played just there. Donald Trump saying, actually, they won't potentially be laid off temporarily. They could find themselves without a job. But we know that if they work for the federal government, something might need to happen. I mean, there's so much at stake here. And like I said, sometimes a deal is done at the 11th hour. But this time, maybe it feels a little different.
I mean, it does. And so, when I speak to people in Washington and kind of hear from them what they're saying, the odds of something being reached in the next couple of hours keep slipping. So, I was hearing, there was maybe 75% chance of a shutdown happening. Now people are raising their odds to maybe 90% chance. And that's because if you look at the sort of pressure, at least within Democrat ranks, the Democrat Party, there is this desire to kind of hold the line when it comes to healthcare. On the Republican side, certainly from the White House and the administration, you've also got these kind of threats potentially that these won't just be furloughs. It could turn into kind of more longer term layoffs. It'll be interesting to see whether that is just saber rattling or whether they can do it. What is the mechanisms? Because typically with the shutdown, how it works is they don't agree on a spending plan and there are furloughs and you come back to your job when the government reopens. reopens. And so you would have to kind of invoke another mechanism to do what they're calling kind of reductions in force. So we have to wait to see how serious this threat is.
Yeah, I know what you're going to do for the next 12 hours, Michelle. Thank you. Keep an eye on it for us. We'll see you then. Michelle Fleury in New York. Thank you.